Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Last week I touched on the map rotation in last week's video, and in this week's video I want to talk about the matchmaker. As I mentioned last week, I've been playing World of Tanks PC, and since I'm primarily a console player, I have noticed some differences between the two platforms. The biggest and most obvious one that I've noticed straight away when I start playing on PC is the game queue times. From what I've experienced, you can wait up to almost 2 minutes for a game. Now, if I just leave that statement out there, you could think that there's no difference between PC and console. But the difference, and the important point here is that I was waiting up to almost 2 minutes in the middle of a day on the weekend on the EU server, and I'm in the UK. Waiting 2 minutes on console is what you'd expect at 1 o'clock in the morning on the EU server. That's the kind of contrast. On PC, you know, I'm talking 60,000 players online, 350 people in the battle queue. On console, we typically wait 30 to 40 seconds for a game. And again, just saying that makes it sound like console is much better, because that's midday on a weekend for console, and you might have 16 to 20,000 players online with 30 to 50 people in the battle queue. And all these numbers that I'm throwing at you right now, this is all information you can see when you're in game in the battle queue. From a waiting time point of view, console sounds much better. But as a console player, we all know that waiting for a match isn't really our problem. It's what happens after the wait that gets under the skin of some players. So, with that in mind, I've done a test with console and PC, and I've put some graphics together to show you what I found. What I did was play 10 games in the M4 Sherman on PC and console to see the difference in queue times and team balance. Now, the M4 Sherman I was playing was set up exactly the same way. I had the derp, the 105 derp on PC, 105 derp on console. So vehicles are the same. Vehicles are absolutely the same, so there's trying to keep that consistent between the two. Right, so let's start with the queue times for console. The longest I had to wait on console was 44 seconds, and the shortest wait was no time at all. I just hit battle and I went straight into a battle. There was no seconds counting up on the counter. Over the 10 game period on console, the average overall wait time for the 10 games was 16 seconds. Alright, switch to PC. The longest I had to wait was 1 minute 38 seconds, while the shortest wait was 31 seconds. Again, over the 10 games, the average wait time for PC was 1 minute 8 seconds. That's a pretty big difference, especially if you're only interested in playing one quick game. But as I mentioned earlier, the wait times aren't really what console players have an issue with. The issue that console players have is that once you get into a game, the teams are not balanced. One team will have more of one type of vehicle than the other team. Like, one team will have 4 TDs and the other team will have 2. That's the lack of balance. When you look at the team balance at the start of the game, you see its lack of balance for console players, and that's what really throws people off, or some players off. So let's take a look at the balance of the games that I got into. Starting off with console again, not one game out of the 10 was perfectly balanced. Not a single one had mirrored matchmaking. Right, for those that don't know, mirrored matchmaking is basically where the layout or the vehicle types on one team are exactly the same as the vehicle types on the enemy team. So for example, if one team has 3 heavies, the other team has 3 heavies. If one team has 4 mediums, the other team has 4 mediums, and so on until you've reached the maximum of 15 players per team. That's mirrored matchmaking. Alright, let's take a look at PC now. This is a totally different story. Of the 10 games I played, 4 were perfectly balanced. 4 had perfect mirrored matchmaking. For me, when I play PC, I found that the much closer balance in games makes for matches that are longer and a lot closer when it comes to the end game. Very rarely have I seen one team on PC steamroll the enemy team. I mean, like, when I say steamroll, I mean 15 players take out 15 players in 3 minutes, that sort of thing. I mean, you still get games on PC where you've got 7 tanks left alive and you think, oh, that's a bit of a... maybe that wasn't quite balanced, but it's nothing as bad as console. Right, these are my observations on the matchmaker, but what does Wargaming have to say about their own matchmakers? Based on what Wargaming Console have to say, the console matchmaker puts players in relatively even situations, and balancing within this battle tier takes place according to vehicle-specific weighting and additional restrictions. They do not mention what these additional restrictions are. Maybe that's my lack of knowledge, lack of research on this topic. If someone does know what these are, then fine, let us know in the comments. But let's compare that to the information provided by PC. PC uses 3 templates to create games. These templates are 3, 5, 7 by tier, with 3 being the highest tier, 5 mid tier, and 7 low tier. 5, 10, with 5 being the highest tier and 10 being the lowest tier, and finally 15 of the same tier. These are what I've just read there. Those 3 templates, they're listed in priority order as well, so the matchmaker will prioritize 3, 5, 7 over 5, 10 over 15 of the same. It's also mentioned that the vehicle types within each game are mirrored as best the matchmaker can, which is evident from the graphics that I've put up the games I've played. The negative of this is that you would apparently and seemingly have to wait longer for a game. Console's matchmaker seems to be far less careful about this particular area of balance in the game. The games are thrown together quickly and you end up with some really, really wacky team balancing. But you don't have to wait very long for your game on console. Ultimately, I think this comes down to the difference in mindset between the player bases. Console is far more casual, while PC is a lot more serious. The average console player doesn't want to wait more than a minute to get into a game. Console players would apparently want to just pick up the controller and go. Pick up my game, turn it on, and throw me into a match where I can just quickly shoot some tanks. That's console. I'm sure if console players were happy to wait longer for their games, we could also get the same matchmaker and balance that PC has. But it could also be that console doesn't have the player numbers to support that. I mean, PC has tens of thousands of people playing, whereas console sometimes just has thousands of people playing, so there is that numbers difference. But with this matchmaker discussion topic, I don't really have a definite answer on what is causing the games to be the way they are. I would like to suggest that on console we adopt a PC style matchmaker, but maybe there's a reason for that, and I don't have the answer to why we don't have that. So it's all what I've found is just what I've found. I'm displaying it on screen here for you guys, so I just want to know what you guys think at this point now. After everything that I've said, everything I've found, I want to know what you guys think, so please leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If not, a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, I hope you're all still keeping safe, and I'll see you out there.